Good afternoon, this is RFC Maki here, providing you a brand new flight report. This time, not from the game Birds of Steel, but from the flight sim called Wings of Duty. Wings of Duty is an iOS-based flight sim game. I believe it's also available on Android, but this is a flight sim developed for portable devices. What's fascinating about this is that this game is a fantastic flight sim given the limitations of a portable system. You can see in this game I am playing at the realistic level, which means you are locked in the cockpit. Enemies are not labeled. Fuel and ammo are both limited. And enemies are difficult to spot. I've just taken off from my own airfield, and right off the bat, there is an enemy somewhere in the vicinity. And I am looking to see if I can't spot him. One of the challenges here is that there's currently a little bit of a glitch. When bad guys shoot a certain range, they appear in the sky as a black dot. As that gets closer and closer, eventually, there we go, he's shooting at me. Eventually you reach a point where that black dot disappears and you have to rely on vision. But the black dot disappears a little bit faster than the plane appears. So here I've lost track of him a few times. Now the way to try to spot this enemy, which happens to be a 190, the way to try to spot him is to look for my own flak going after him since he's flying around my airfield. I tend to try to climb as much as possible and hit my flaps under about 50% and rotate around looking to see if I can spot him. Also making sure if he spots me first, he can't hit me. So here I am rotating, looking to see if I can spot him, checking my 6 as much as possible. Another limitation of this game is that the look around is incredibly awkward. It's very difficult. Oh, there he is. I've spotted him in the sky up around. And now I'm going to try to use the superior turn ratio of the Spitfire to get a hold of him. Hold my throttle back a little bit here in a second. Make sure I can stay behind him. Line him up in my guns and fire away. I'm currently narrating this video while walking from one bus stop to the bus station. I'm going to try to catch my way home, so forgive the extra breathing. But you can hear the nice sound effects of firing. And looking to see if he's at this point lost a bunch of energy. So I can't tell exactly yet whether I've got a couple hits on him, but I'm pretty sure I did at this point. He's really sputtering for energy right now. My wing load is going to allow me to go a lot slower than he can. And so he's really going to start to falter. There he goes, bits and pieces falling off, smoke coming off, and he pulls the worst maneuver you can do. He climbs. So I can just sit behind him now, let him fall in front of my guns, and hit him a few more times. I've run out of cannons. MG are left, but honestly, oh, there he goes. He spins out, and I can just light him up and get the kill. So the first kill goes to me. Managed to beat him. Drop my nose down to build my own speed back up again. I can see there's still flag going there. That's probably because of the way the game AI plays it. The enemy plane, even when it's following, sort of all flat ends. And then I could switch. I think my head landed, but I cut out all the boarding stuff. Now I'm flying with a wingman, and he and I are both in the sky looking for enemies. So he's asked me if the sound here drops out. I think it's a problem with the iOS version. I'm recording off my phone using the built-in iOS recorder, so that leads to some problems. So my apologies for the soundless video. So this 190 comes flying right past my wingman and right past me. So now it's a question of trying to revert to get on him. I didn't realize my wingman was going to be getting on him as well. So we're both at this point not really sure where each other are, and we're both trying to hit this guy. So again, climbing and spinning. I've noticed about a lot of players in this game, a lot of the German players, their tactic is to fly straight at you. Doesn't matter whether you have an altitude advantage or not, their tactic is to fly straight at you and then fire at you as soon as you can. So if you know that's going to happen, you just try not to be where their guns are going to be when they start shooting. Here I am rotating and spinning, looking for a chance to fire again, looking for where the enemy is. This issue of the dot disappearing before you could really get good visual in the plane has made it extra challenging this time for me to try to find the enemy. So I'm sort of rotating around, turning as tightly as possible, trying to get as much of a visual as I can and spot this guy before it gets dangerous. All right, now my turn to cross the road, so here we go. So I'm now trying to find the guy, climb a little bit, see if I can't get on his 6, make sure I have enough speed going. All the while making myself a very dangerous or a very difficult to hit target.
10, 9, 8.
It's 2 versus 1 in this case. And so we're both looking, heading down towards the smoke, because that's usually, the flak smoke is usually a good sign there's an enemy nearby. That's usually a pretty good climb. And there we go, up above me. You can see climbing, and now I've rotated on him. Zoom in the view to make sure that that's him and not my own wingman. That's a 190. So I get a hit there, which was good. He goes diving, so I drop my nose, level out, he levels out, and now I'm on his 6. As long as I can maintain visual, I can get a kill. So I'll say I didn't know where my wingman was at this time, and at this point I thought I had him. I thought this is my kill. Just as I go to fire, my wingman also fired. He finished the guy off, got the kill, but I got an assist, which is just fine. Congratulate my wingman on a nice shot. And now we can sort of move towards the next kill. So at this point, my wingman and I both head out over the water. He and I are crossing the ocean. That is him, you'll see out there to the right. He is down below me to my right, and he's asked me some questions about who some good 190 pilots are and if I know anything about the squadron that we're meeting up against, because a handful of members of this other squadron have popped into this room. Up ahead, we spot an enemy. So we both go to turn to deal with this guy. Now this enemy is flying right at my wingman, so I figure with that distraction I have the height advantage. I can come in behind him. So here I am diving down, dropping down on my enemy while he flies straight at my wingman, completely unaware of me. I figured that gave me a really great advantage here. There's a perk here to not flying wingtip to wingtip with your wingman, and this is one of them. Your enemy's got to choose one or the other of you to go after. So there we go. He's up in front of me. I got a couple hits right there as he dropped in front of me. He's wiggling back and forth like a maniac, so I'm trying to stay behind him and keep my energy up. Apparently also, my wingman had managed to reverse very quickly, impressively. And again, I wind up with an assist rather than a kill. Also in this process, it looks like my wingman somehow must have collided with debris. He said he's about 50 meters behind the enemy plane, but he still managed to crash, leaving me all by myself. So I'm hanging out here. My wingman's going to respawn, and he's going to have to fly halfway across the English Channel. So I do a quick check of Calais Airport and spot down there an enemy. So the trick is then to climb a little bit, make sure I've got the altitude advantage. In this game, I find it best to try to stick out a little bit higher than the clouds and then rotate around. Many German flyers, the ones who are still sort of novices, like to point their planes straight towards the enemy and fly low to the water, making them fairly easy targets. You can actually get a really nice boom and zoom style kill even with a Spitfire. So here I am dropping down on the guy. He has not noticed me at all. So I'm using my added velocity to go after him. Sometimes we reach a point where the cockpit will shake, but here I'm slowing down just enough where I can stay behind his 6 since he hasn't noticed me. He's not evading. And I wind up having to pull back a little bit as he's now crazily maneuvering to get away from me. But usually at this point, if I'm behind them like this and they're flying like that, there's not a whole lot that they can do. So he's turning like crazy. He's a 109 AMIL or 109E. So he's got a bit of a turning. But I had gotten enough hits initially on him so that when he crashed into the water, either loss of velocity or loss of control, I got the kill. So that gives me 2 kills and 2 assists so far. So I'm still waiting for my wingman to come back up, go to climb back up again to make sure I try to recover velocity as quickly as possible. Realize I'm a little bit low on energy, on ammo at this point. Probably a bit low on fuel, but there are 2 enemy at Calais. Now, I know it is not a smart idea to take on 2 enemies at once, especially 2 enemies who are pissed off because you just shot them down. And so my initial thought was, let me go ahead and drag them back. I probably don't have enough ammo to do after them both anyway, so let me go ahead and intentionally drag them back to Calais, where my wingman will be approaching. We can deal with them together. So my initial approach was to increase space between me and the 2 guys. I keep checking back behind me just to see who's following and to what degree they're following. And I begin to realize at this point that one of them seems to be coming after me, or at least coming in my direction a bit. The other one, however, does not seem to be gaining at all. So they've got some space in between them, which I guess I reached the decision that, you know what, maybe it's actually not so bad to reverse and go after one of them. I try to keep an eye on the other one, reverse and go after one of them. My wingman reported to me, there's a way that you can, when you're out of the game, okay, there he is below me. I'm trying to stay high, hopefully to drop in behind them. But my wingman reported me that one of them was a BF 110 and the other one was, I forget what it was, but some sort of fighter plane, probably a 190 or a 109. So I lost track of the guy here. I go to climb and can't see him. So then I wind up again trying to rotate or spin a little bit in order to try to see if I can't get some visual on the guy. And then I do spot him actually back towards the coast. When I zoom in, I actually had the impression he was flying right at me, and you do not want to fly straight at a 110 with their heavy guns. So I quickly dropped my nose to make sure he didn't have a line of sight on me. I think I was mistaken. I must have actually been on his 6 rather than on his nose. So that was a bit of a mistake. So now I have to rotate around again. There I spot him, and here it becomes a bit more obvious to me that he's actually not flying at me, but flying sideways, or he doesn't see me, or he's flying not directly at me, so I've got a little bit of room to maneuver. So I fly it below him and then try to angle on him, hoping that he has not spotted me at this point, hoping me that I have a little bit of an advantage. And once I get on his 6, then the question is, if he's a good 110 pilot, he will have his tail gunners on me. And I have been shot down more than once thinking that I had the advantage on a 110 pilot. So it just comes down to how much attention is this guy paying and how good a shot is he. So I get close, get closer and closer, and here I can begin to lay down some fire, hoping to do some damage as we go. At this point he knows I'm there, so he starts to maneuver wildly, lifting, turning, twisting, which is not the best way to fly a 110, but it does something. Again, I keep firing, hoping to get a few hits here and there. Finally, I've got him smoking. Now, what's interesting is he has the velocity here, so you'll notice that as he dives down through the clouds, and I'm chasing after him, try not to get hit. I take a couple plinks here and there. I'm trying to make sure he hasn't got a shot on me. As he dives down through the clouds here, he actually falls away from my sight. The clouds actually begin to obscure him a little bit, so I don't see him as he's dropping. But I can follow his smoke trail. That'll tell me exactly where he is. So I dive down through the clouds myself, and there he is. So now he's diving down, trying to use velocity. I'm following after him on his 6. And here I can just shoot at him straight up. He's still firing at me a little bit, so I have to jiggle a little bit in order to keep him off me. But I can fire at him enough times where I finally get the kill. Kill number 3. And there might be a little bit more on here, but that winds up the game because the other pilot and my wingman are after each other. So that takes the game to the end. Cheers, and I'll see you guys next time.